Hey guys, my name is Haniya. If you've never been here before, welcome. If you've been here before, great, thank you and welcome back. And today we're going to be talking about how to grow string of hearts from seed. String of hearts are a very popular houseplant, and it's super easy to see why. They have long vines, their leaves look like little variegated hearts on strings. They're really cute and easy to maintain, and you can cut off pieces of them and give to your friends if you really feel like sharing. The problem with string of hearts is that they're often kind of pricey. When I was looking online just recently, I found prices up to $50 for a 6-inch pot. You could pay $25 for a 2.5-inch pot. You can pay $3 for a small cutting, but in my experience, it's fairly difficult to keep these cuttings going. Maybe somebody has a better solution, but when I've tried in the past, my success rate with them was fairly minimal. Also, if you like the caudex part of a string of hearts plant, you may or may not get that forming on the bottom of your cutting. So just something to keep in mind if you are buying string of hearts cuttings. Naturally, since I love starting seeds, I started to look for string of heart seeds online, and I found some on eBay. They were not very expensive. I think it was only $10 for a package of like 20 seeds. I thought I would give it a try. Before we get into actually planting my string of heart seeds, I wanted to just explain a little bit about where these plants come from. String of hearts grow on rocky cliff sides, so right away that tells me that they're going to want a lot of drainage. Stones and rocks tend to leave the soil very porous, and it doesn't retain water as much, so string of hearts are definitely going to need a ton of perlite or some other medium like pumice. Since they're also a cliffside dweller, I assume they may want a bit more light than your average houseplant. And actually, I do think they do better in a little bit of humidity. I found between 40 and 50% of average humidity is great. You just don't want the soil to be wet or soggy. String of heart seeds actually look a lot like aster seeds to me, which was kind of surprising. I was not expecting that they would be as big and flat as they are. They also kind of reminded me of adenium or desert rose seeds, so I figured I would plant them the same way that I planted desert rose, which would be regular potting soil mixed with a bunch of perlite, just so that they have extra drainage and don't get too swamped. Here's our seeds, here's our soil, here's our perlite. I'm just going to quickly drop perlite and mix it up. This soil's still fairly wet from a previous plant that died in here. I'm not so worried about sterilizing it because that plant was on its way out anyway and it didn't leave any traces of mold. And this dirt was fairly new when I put it in. And I'm just gonna slowly mix up the perlite as I go. I'm not crazy worried about measuring the perlite, I just want there to be a lot of it. And I guess if I had to measure it, I would say 1/4 to half of whatever the soil is. But the soil also has perlite in it already, so I didn't want to make it all perlite, although I know you can still start seeds on perlite, but we're not going to be doing that today. For the amount of seeds that I actually have another cup, so I may just start planting another set so that they have more room to grow and that they're not all tightly packed together. And when we talk about how much water to put in here, what I'm looking for is evenly wet, not dripping wet, just dark enough to look a little black. This was the water with a little bit of moisture in it, but probably not enough to get the seeds really happy and germinating. This is about the color, and if I were to squeeze it, you're not getting any drips out of it at the same time. I'm gonna actually use the bottom of this other cup and tamp it down a little bit, just so that when I go to put my seeds on top, it'll be a little bit more even. And only because I mixed some dirt on top of my seeds, I'm using tweezers, but let me show you how I plant them. So I'm taking a seed and I'm lightly just dropping it on top. Very easy. This is exactly the same process that I followed with my adenium seedlings. And the reason why I do this is just so that when they germinate, their roots can go immediately into the soil. But honestly, if I bury them, I feel like they're not going to get the light that they need, because these are highlight growing plants. Here we have the second pot, and I'm just going to do the same exact thing. Here are my seeds mixed in with a little bit of unintentional dirt, and I'm just going to pick them up with the tweezers and plop them right on top. And I forgot to pat this down first, so definitely do that so that your seeds aren't totally falling into the cracks of your soil. So now that we have both of our seeds, what I'm gonna just do is actually cover them. And they are in a greenhouse, but this will actually just ensure a little bit better that the moisture is retained and that the ebbs and flows don't cause them to accidentally dry out, especially if I'm not paying attention for a little bit. These guys are actually fairly fast growers. They've been in this pot for about, I don't know, 4 months now, and they show no signs of slowing down. So if you do find some seeds, like I said, I just looked for them on eBay and found them right away. You can easily have an entire full pot for your own, and then hopefully if they flower, you can make more.